Female circumcision has been around for centuries and appears in many different cultures.
We think it's an ancient concept that happened in rural communities in far-off places a long time ago.
Female genital mutilation, or FGM, refers to any procedure that injures or partially or totally removes female external genitalia for non-medical reasons. The procedure is illegal in many countries and is an internationally recognized human rights violation. Despite that, at least 200 million girls and women across the world have undergone FGM according to UNICEF, with more than half coming from Egypt, Ethiopia, or Indonesia. But it also happens in 31 other countries, including here, beneath the pristine skyscrapers of Singapore. Asia's future is now. It's making massive strides in its economies, human development, technology. But for the region to truly reach its full potential, it needs to empower women who face draconian laws and outdated customs. I'm Natashya Gutierrez. In this series, I meet the women who are directly impacted by these barriers. Why are we still so unequal?
Right in the heartland of Singapore, you wouldn't expect to find a place that still practices female genital mutilation. But here, squeezed between a pizza shop and a hair salon, is a clinic that openly broadcasts this grim secret.
The procedure is described as katan, the Arabic term for the removal of excess skin. But in Singapore, the procedure is more commonly known by the Malay term sunat perempuan, which translates to female circumcision. It's the Malay Muslim community in Singapore that mostly observes the practice. As in many places, the community sees FGM, or sunat, as a way to control female sexuality. It's also seen as a rite of passage for girls. Still, others believe that it is a religious requirement in Islam, even if the Quran does not mandate it. The practice is kept so quiet in Singapore that many don't realize they were cut until they are much older and, well, confront their parents about it. Imagine not knowing you were circumcised as a baby until you were a full-grown adult. That's what happened to Saza, an academic who only learned a few years ago that she was cut as an infant.
So tell me about the first time that you found out that you were cut.
I think it was at my niece's second birthday party, and then my aunt happily announced that she was cut 2 weeks ago. And so I was really shocked because I didn't know that sunat is something that happened to girls as well. So I was just really upset, and I was like, this is a WHO violation, it's a human rights violation, this is wrong. And then my sister beside me, she was like, oh, you were cut too. And I was floored, because I did not expect that at all. I just felt very violated. And I felt very upset that something happened to me without my consent when I was a baby that was potentially harmful. I think initially I was really very angry with my mom, especially for doing this. And I just kept on questioning her. And the fact that she couldn't give me, any straight answer, she couldn't give me any evidence for it, it just made me more upset.
How did you not know that this was something happening to girls in your family? Is it just something that's not openly talked about?
Yeah, it's not. I think sexuality, especially female sexuality, is not talked about within the Malay community. When female genital cutting is done, it's very quiet, but when compared to male genital cutting, when male genital cutting done, there's something called kanduri, which is like a festival where there's food, there's dancing, there's laughter, people are very happy. But for female genital cutting, there's no celebration or ceremony. So that's why it's so quiet. That's why nobody knows about it, especially outside of the community.
Sazo was so affected by her discovery that she dedicated her senior thesis to the topic in 2017, especially since there's little research about the practice in Singapore. She estimates that about 60% of the Malay Muslim community, which comprises about 15% of Singapore's population, practice FGM. There are 4 main types of FGM with different procedures, ranging from a total removal of the clitoris in type 1 to pricking, incising, or scraping the genitals in type 4. Saza says her research shows type 1 is the most commonly practiced in Singapore, but there's no standard as to how this practice is being done.
Do you even know how much was cut?
For myself, but I have no idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's just no way of knowing at this point.
And my mom can't tell me, my sister can't tell me, and no one knows for sure. That's one of the problems with this cut in Singapore, is that we are really not sure how much is cut. Right now, we have to take it at face value when the doctors or the religious leaders tell us that, only a very, very small piece is being cut. Some of the doctors use scissors, some use penknife, some use lasers, and they don't learn it in medical school. They learn it from senior doctors. I guess which then highlights the problem, right? Which then this cut is really medically unverifiable. It's medically completely unnecessary.
Saza also believes that this lack of regulation and hygienic benefits are perhaps the most effective arguments in convincing Singaporeans to stop FGM. It's an interesting nuance specific to Singapore, where frankly, conversations around human rights or consent still have a long way to go, against the backdrop of the city-state's history of stifling freedoms.
How about the idea of consent and of doing something to a girl's body without their knowing? Is that a big factor, or not as much as the religious health hygiene factors?
I think consent is a bit of a tenuous kind of like topic when speaking about it in Singapore. I think there are people who agree that consent is important and that definitely, the girl's consent should be sought. And that, if she wants to do this when she's older, when she's above 18, that's perfectly fine, right? But I think there are also factions within the community who don't believe in the idea of consent, in that they do believe that a child is an extension of a parent, and so kind of the parent owns the child and the child's body, and so it's up to the parent to do whatever they want onto that child.
Despite global condemnation, there is no law banning FGM in Singapore. The city-state lauds itself for its religious diversity and harmony, so it shies away from sensitive topics. Many Malay Muslims seek religious guidance from the Islamic Religious Council of Singapore, or MUIS, which is tasked with advising Malay Muslims and the President of Singapore on all matters relating to Islam. So what is MUIS's take on FGM? The council once published on their website, circumcision is compulsory for men and women. This guidance, however, has since been quietly removed from public domain. But it's far from enough, especially as the influential Islamic body has yet to officially revise their stance on the issue. With little opportunity for open discourse, Muslim activists have taken matters into their own hands. Shah Taha runs Crit Talk, a safe space for Muslims to discuss taboo topics like FGM and alternative views in the Muslim community.
What type of discussions do you do at Crit Talk? What are some of the topics relating to Sunat that you guys host?
So on Sunat, we have just one kind of workshop where we look at the different procedures that we do that are socially acceptable to do on children. And the idea is to help the participants see that this all depends on the social norm of the time and that this can change over time.
Shouldn't the state be the one educating the parents rather than volunteers like yourself?
I think maybe for the Malay Muslim community, the religious authorities would have a lot more clout because we do place a lot of trust in our religious authorities to guide us onto what's right and what's wrong. And I think definitely if they had a clear stance on it, that it would make a change.
Singapore is known for basically getting its act together for so many different issues. Why do you think there's a lack of leadership when it comes to this topic?
I think it's similar to other things that affect the Malay Muslim community. It doesn't just apply to Sunat, but also like marriage laws, laws on polygamy. The answer is always that the community is not ready for it. So there will always be Muslims who want to do it and Muslims that don't want to do it. So I think they're wary of putting it down in black and white, saying like, you can't do it.
As a Muslim mother of two, Shah has refused to have both her son and daughter circumcised, believing that they should make the decision for themselves when they are of age. This is what she aims to impart to women in her community, to make informed decisions rather than blindly follow customs and traditions in relation to FGM and beyond.
You say you're a practicing Muslim. Are you seen as a bad Muslim for voicing out your opinion?
Of course. And I've been facing this at least maybe for the last 10 years. So I think that being a good Muslim, especially a good Muslim woman, it's a goalpost that keeps shifting. Even if you cover up and you follow your dress code, you know, your clothes are too colorful, your voice is too loud, you're too friendly, you're too active, you're too smart. The key is to realize that these are a set of arbitrary rules, which personally for me, they are designed to keep women in their place. It's to silence them when they have a valid question and they have valid concerns about something.
And it's not just Islam, isn't it?
No, of course not. Yeah, it's the same in every conservative religion or conservative society.
And it just seems to be that the women get the brunt of that.
Everywhere.